Hello friends. In our last class we were discussing Homi.K.Bhabha. Homi.K.Bhabha and his Homi.K.Bhabha and his of mimicry and man. Of mimicry and man. The ambivalence of post-colonial discourse. Ambivalence of post-colonial discourse in the location of culture, isn't it? So we saw what is mimicry. Mimicry, simple words we can say it is mimicking somebody else's sound. For example, if you say a male mimicking the sound of a female, say flower, flower. So that is simple, isn't it? Yeah, then there is another is anything that is insincere is mimicry. So for example, your food products you get these days now. Some of them at least is mimicking. Means the thing that you want to buy, so you may go to a shop for buying coconut oil. Coconut oil. But what you get is a mimicry of coconut oil. Artificially made coconut oil. That is mimicry. That itself that is behind. That is Lacan's definition. And then we also saw that, for another example, day-to-day example to do, stunt in films is a mimicry. Nothing happens there, no? But we are made to believe that there is a stunt going on. So a stunt in film is a mimicry. Because there is nothing, actually nothing is happening. Itself is behind. Itself means the fact. The reality is behind. Understand? You are not seeing the reality. You are only seeing a semblance. We can see not even a likeness. You can see some kind of pretension, pretension of reality. That's what you find. I hope you understand the meaning of mimicry here. Mimicry, there is mimicry artist. That is also the same thing. Because when you are mimicking the sound of Shah Rukh Khan, then you are not Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh Khan is behind. The reality is behind. Itself is behind. And you are mimicking his sound. Understand? Okay, so then we saw that Lacan's dimensions. We saw Lacan says that there are 3 dimensions in mimicry. One is travesty. Travesty means misrepresentation. Travesty. That the other day we were discussing when we told you about the Ganymede. Rosalind as Ganymede in Shakespeare's plays, you saw. Yes, so or you can see Viola as Cesario. So there is misrepresentation. Then second dimension is camouflage. Camouflage means hiding, concealing the reality. So when you mimic somebody's voice, you are concealing the reality, the real person's voice. So that is another dimension. And third is intimidation, means you are always in fear. When you are mimicking, you are asked to mimic or adapt, that is by a power. So then you are under intimidation, that is surveillance and gaze. G-A-Z-D. Yesterday we saw all these things, that's why I am not writing on the board. Gaze means that you have to behave as I say, that is gaze means. The master's gaze on the slave, that is the slave should behave as I say. Okay. Today we will consider, yesterday for example, for the sake of example I gave you 2 texts. So today we will consider some texts on mimicry. Some texts. First one we have already considered, that is Charles Grant's grand idea of introducing evangelical education educational system in the missionary educational system. Like a missionary, free education, free school, etc. Finally, we found that what is it all about. So the first one is Charles Grant. Charles Grant. So who is Charles Grant? What was his opinion? What did he do, etc. We saw yesterday. So I don't want to repeat it. That is since 1792. Yes, it was in 1792. Charles Grant proposed that. And a project to educate the Indians here, free education. Why? Because he wanted to mix caste practices with Christian morals, so that you create a kind of anesthesia among the people. So they will not rise up in revolt. They will become docile. It's a kind of triangulating effect. So the empire can expand. That is the mimicry. Your education, free education is given, free schools, free lectures, free tuitions, but what is the reality? The itself is mixing caste practices with Christian morals so that you produce a set of docile persons who will not rise up or revolt so that the empire can expand. Understand? Second one we saw, 1835. The second text is, that is of 1835, Macaulay, Lord Macaulay. Macaulay's Mints. Today we call it, post-colonial writers call it infamous, notorious, not famous, opposite of that. So then he introduced what? He said that we want, what did he say? We want a class of interpreters. We want a class of interpreters between the millions whom we govern and us. Indians in color and Indians in taste and color. So, but they should behave like, or the behavior, they should be like Indians in blood and color. And in their morals, their behavior, their manners, and if possible their intellect, they should look like, or they should behave like Englishmen. So double talk. So one is, the reality is, we want a set of interpreters. And that is behind. Itself is behind. Then what comes forward is their intention. What is the intention? What is their, that hypocritic intention is, they want a set of, a class of interpretation. That's it. And then in 1819, before 1835, 1819, there was a missionary educationist. His name is not given. That's the third test, missionary educationist. And what did he say, So we want translators. That's the thing. So this time here it is mimic men. We want mimic men who will do our work as babus and clerks. Here it says they should keep themselves, or they should not rise up in revolts. We will anesthetize them. We will give them triangulation. That triangulation is education. To mix a kind of cocktail Christian morals and caste practice. That is intention, you should understand that. You got the point. Here he says it is a missionary, he says, we want translators. That is their idea, translation. We want somebody to translation. Translation is his idea. A set of a group of translators who will speak English, who can translate from native language to English and English language to native languages. That is the thing. And then there was another person, a Greek man, an army general. His name was Sir Edward. Sir means he was knighted. Edward Cust. Edward Cust. He was an army general. What did he say? He said his essay, famous for us for those days, Reflections on West African Affairs. Reflections on West African Affairs. That is his proposal, and then in his essay he says that in the documents that he produced, he said, what did he say, colonial policy is colonial dependency. You can do anything. You can introduce railways, give them education, convert them. You can give them milk powder, whatever you want. But what is our policy? Our policy is colonial dependence. Colonial policy is colonial dependence. You give them whatever the free food. You can give them free clothes. You can give them free railways, transportation facilities. But behind this, we have only one aim, our agenda, a single agenda, and that is colonial dependence. Whatever we do, there should be colonial dependence. Then there's another person, a fifth man, and what English people know, Lord Rosebery. Lord Rosebery. He said, what did he say, He said, colonizing is writ by the divine finger. That's what he said. Like you have heard of divine rights theory of kings, So he says divine finger. That Englishmen or Europeans should colonize third world countries. That is writ by the divine finger. God has written it. That's why from there you get this idea of white man's burden. It is the burden of white men to go around and civilize these people. Civilizing mission, grand civilizing mission. For what? For expanding the colonial power. For expanding the hegemony of the colonial power. Hegemony. So very often we use that. So that's what it is. He said, it is written by the divine finger. It's God's plan that everybody should be under this. Understand? So we have about five texts by English people. All prominent men. Charles Grant, he says, we want to domesticate these wild animals. That is, this natives, people. Second is, we want a set of people, Indian in blood and color, but speak English, so that we can make use of them. That is the itself behind. Missionary education is said, we want a set of translators. Sir Edward Cuss said, colonial policy is colonial dependence. And Lord Rosebery said, it is divine written in the divine finger. So, these texts tell us, plainly tell us, what are the real intentions of the colonizer. The real intention of the colonizer is expansion of the empire. So this is mimicry. What you see is mimicry here. Understand? Now we can see the ambivalence. This is the ambivalence of colonial discourse. The ambivalence of colonial discourse. This means ambivalence means both positive and negative. So what is the positive? Positive side is that the expansion of empire. What is the negative side? Keep it down. Understand? That's what they expand. Expansion of empire is there as far as they are concerned is positive side. And negative side is slavery. So they always keep you on. Colonial policy is colonial dependence. Is that clear to you? So from there you can see the real intention. So the itself that is behind. What is the itself? Itself is expansion of the colonial power. Now further, if you want to theoretically prove or explain ambivalence, that means two meaning, double top, double meaning, you can see John Locke. You have heard of John Locke, no? John Locke. The apostle of enlightenment. He defines slave like this. The term slave. He says, he gives two meanings. In the state of Carolina, where there is slavery, he says, a slave is the rightful possession of its master. Slave is quite okay. When you are possessing, you have to possess. There's one talk. But the state of nature, it goes against all the fundamental rights of human beings. To possess a person, keep him under your control, and treat him as a slave. So two meanings. One is, in the state of Carolina, it is okay, because there is slavery. But when you think of the state of nature as such, state of nature, state means here state means a a country, you can say. Here state means that status, state of nature, the situation. If you say the state of nature, then what happens is, it goes against all the fundamental human rights. So that is double talk there again. Slave could have two meanings, depending on the person who, the place and the person who use that term. It's again mimicry, right? Yes. And the third and next text is Freud. Freud's definition of fantasy. Fantasy, he says, it's between pre-conscious, conscious and subconscious. A state between pre-conscious and subconscious, that is fantasy. In Origins, he says, he defines this. So it is neither pre-conscious state nor subconscious, an in-betweenness. This is what happens to in mimicry. An Indian is neither Indian nor English. Understand? Neither is he Indian. An African is neither American nor in-betweenness. And Freud gives the example of people of mixed race, he says. People of mixed race. What happens to people of mixed race? Black skin but white character, or black character, white skin. So in-betweenness. So what happens is, a person or a boy or girl, an infant born of a mixed race, it will grow up and it will have features of the white man and features of the black man. Since that is an in-betweenness, since there are features of black in him, he has no rights of the white man. All the rights that are enjoyed by the white people are denied to him because he is of mixed race. Again, that is ambivalence of mimicry. That's the ambivalence of mimicry. Understand? A misrepresentation, travesty. Jacques Lacan says, misrepresentation. So mixed race. So mimicry is like that, he says. Mimicry, one meaning you can see slave, two meanings, double talk. Mixed race, a person of mixed race, he has got a double and in-betweenness. He is inside but he is outside. Inside because he has got certain qualities of white man, but he is outside because he has got features of a black man. That is what we call the in-betweenness of mimicry. So what happens is, the ultimate result is, you are a foreigner in your own lands. You are a refugee in your own lands. You are an outsider in your own lands. See that? So you are denied all the rights enjoyed by the other. That was a law concern. And Sartre, he said, according to him, mimicry is an inauthentic. So he says it's an inauthentic role playing. He says, inauthentic role playing, because there is no identity. You have lost your identity. You have no identity. See that? That is. Because a person of mixed race has no identity. You cannot say he is white, he is black. An Indian in colonial times, no identity. You speak English, but you are not an Englishman. To be anglicized is not to be English, very clearly they have said. To be anglicized, just because you speak English language. To be anglicized is not to be English. That is in-betweenness. So that is, Sartre says, no, inauthentic role play, no authenticity there. That is this. Ground is slippery. There is slippage. Slippage. You understand that point? Yeah. So that is inauthentic. And Fanon. You know Fanon. Who wrote, who worked in Algeria for a long time. He has written Algeria Unveiled. And he says black skin, white masks. Algeria Unveiled, Fanon. So we have the text of 5 Englishmen. We have 2 theories. One is that of John Locke and the other is that of Freud. Now we have got opinions of great men like Sartre. He says it is inauthentic role play. Sartre. Inauthentic role play. That is. Fanon says yes, Fanon in Algeria Unveiled. In Algeria Unveiled, he was working as a doctor in Algeria, you remember, no? In Algeria, he said, black skin, white masks. See, black skin, white masks. So you are black, but you have to put on a white mask. So itself that is behind. What is the itself we are black? That's behind. You have to put on the white mask. Or the terrible situation is there. Always you are mimicking. Listen. Now in this case what you find here is, you find this, what you should say, this discourse. Discourse and mimicry. And Orientalism by Edward Said is gained wide significance, profound importance in post-colonial discourse. So you can say these were 2 approaches or 2 keys to open the post-colonial discourse. Understand? So from this you see there are 5 texts of the Englishman. 2 people, theory, that is John Locke and Freud. That is 5 plus 2, 7. And then we find 2 great men, 2 great writers, Sartre and Fanon. From these texts and their opinions we understand the ambivalence of mimicry. Ambivalence. So tomorrow, in the next class, we will discuss the effects of this ambivalence. What are the effects of ambivalence? How has this ambivalence of mimicry affected the colonizers? What happened to them? Already I have hinted at 2 or 3 points. There is slippage, there is loss of identity, alienation within one's own country. These are all effects of, remember, effects of ambivalence of the slippery ground, ambivalence of mimicry. It's a colonial theory to analyze colonial discourses. I hope you have followed me. You are enjoying my classes, and also you will share this with others. So next class we will see the effects of this ambivalence of mimicry. Alright? Till then, bye bye.